Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Today we will be starting MDF object, that is Metadata Frame 1. Already when we started with Employee Center, we have seen how the object MD object is. The record is created with the help of managed data and import and export data. Correct, yes. Where we go and create the legal entity business unit. Right. First of all, we have to create a record. But when you see for creating a record, those fields which are there under each object, that also has to be defined somewhere. If that is not defined, how you will go and create a record for managed data, correct? Before migration, these MDF objects were also a part of FO, that is foundation object. And their fields were also a part of foundation object. That was the reason it was earlier defined it in the XML. That is in the corporate data model. After the data migration, after the migration of the object from the FO to the MDF, what SAP has done? They created a new object that is known as a metadata framework. And this object, whatever the object which has been migrated in MDF, we can able to configure those objects and the field from the front end system, that is from the instance system, rather going from the XML. There is no dependency now to go into the provisioning and define the object and the field from the provisioning side. It can be defined from the front-end system, that is in the instance system. Up to here it is clear. For defining the objects and the fields, these objects and the fields are defined in a configuration tool that is known as Configure Object Definition. Configure Object Definition is a tool in the front end, that is in the instance, where we can able to define any standard objects and the field in the front end system. When we go into the instance system, we will have a more clarity. I'm going into the instance, that is the front end system. And when I go into the instance, the configuration tool for going and seeing for any MDF object, either it is a standard MDF object or it is a custom MDF object, the configuration tool is configure. What is the name? Configure Object Definition. Configure Object Definition, which is the tool which we are using for creating and maintaining all the MDF objects, both the standard as well as the custom one. Is it clear? When I click on the Configure Object Definition, it will take me to a page. And meanwhile, what I will do, I will also duplicate a screen and I will open Manage Data also, that I can show you parallel. As we will go with an overview, then all the fields, all the tabs you will try to elaborate in detail. Manage Data is a tool configuration tool which we are using for creating the records. Correct? Here I can able to go and see for business unit, right? Where I can select any of the records for the business unit. When I will go and select a record, what all I can see? The start date, business area ID, area name description, all these fields also I can see, right? Am I correct? From where it is coming? It is coming from the place that is called as a configure object definition. Once you log in into configure object definition, select the object definition here. And what is the object? Business unit, right? When you go and see, all objects will be there here, including the standard as well as the custom one. Here I will just try to type business unit. When I go into the business unit, the screen you can see divided into various sections. We will discuss on this section. First, I am going into the overview, make correction. Upper part, we will have a discussion right now. Before going here, you can see there is a field section here. Right under the field section, when you go here, you can see the external code name description. Effective date it starts coming. Right. Name description, everything it starts coming. The same thing here also you can see. It will be showing. Well, you can see the ID, the name, description and everything. When we were discussing the XML, if you remember, XML was having HRS elements and the IS fields, right? S element. And I told you that each HRS element and each HRS field is divided into two parts. That is ID and the label. And we should not do any changes in the ID because that is a standard one. We can make the changes in the label. Same thing applies here also. When you go here, whatever in the UI, that is when you see the record here, whatever the fields which you are seeing here, this is the label which you are seeing. Labels for that particular field, not the ID. From where these labels are coming, when you go here, you can see it will start with the external code name description. This is the standard one. These are the IDs. These are the IDs which are showing here. If you want to see the label in front of this external code, can you see the details here? Click on the detail here and here when you scroll down. You can see the label here, a business area, ID. Here you can see business area ID. Whenever you go into configure object definition, select an object and go under the field section. You can see it will start with an external code. External code which you are seeing here. This is the standard one. By default, it will be coming in the system. We should not go and change it. But if you want to make any correction, we can do it in the label part because that is the same. That is the thing which will be reflecting in the managed data. Now you can also see here it is a mandatory one, right? Business area ID. When you go here, I told you in HR's element and HRS field, there are certain attributes of each field, right? The fields are mandatory, not mandatory visibility, all these things here. Length of the field. It is the attributes in the XML, right? Here also in the detail you can see for this field, the required equal to yes means this field is mandatory. Visibility. You want to make it visible, not visible or readable. That is also specified here in the drop-down. And further, when you go up, you can see length of the field. Can you see length of the field? And data type. Data type. We will discuss either by today or in the next session. But we will try to discuss in the today's session. A data type is nothing, but it defines the behavior of that particular field. I'm creating a field. What is the behavior of that field? Behavior is something where I am putting some value to that particular, in that particular field. What is the value that particular field will take? It will take as a character, numeric character, special character, or it will only take as a numbers, decimals. It should only have a drop-down. It should have a behavior of having a drop-down value. It should have a behavior of taking the date. Those controlling that particular behavior is done with the help of data type. You are creating a custom field. You are specifying a name. But when you enter some value, what value you are expecting that field should save? It should save as a character, it should save as a date format, numeric format, or it should take as a decimal format. That everything is being controlled with the help of a data type. We will go and see all the data types which are mentioned in the drop-down list. That is one thing which is also showing in the details. In the detail, you can see the external code, that is the ID. We should not go and do any changes here. Then we can see the length of the field. Then we have seen the data type which specifies the behavior of the field. And you can see the field is mandatory or not. That also specifies required equal to yes or no visibility of the field, status of the field, label of the field. Everything can be done from the detail section. And this same designing will apply to all the fields. Now you go into the name again. You go into the details. The name is and the name is the what you call standard one. Name is the standard one. And when you go into the name, you can see the label that is business area name. You can see the business area name. This is a label which you see. You can see here the label that is business area name. Can you see here? Same, but the ID is the name, but the label here, what you are defining it there in this one. Configure object definition in the details. We have defined as a label business area name. Got. Same thing applies to all the. You can see here also the length of the field. Then you have the required, equal to mandatory or not, the visibility of the field data type. Again, the data type will be there. All these things can be defined, maintained and controlled from the detail section of the particular field from the configure object definition. External code name description, all these things which we've been showing here. This is the standard one. And the same thing will be reflecting here. It is for each object business unit, right? And the business unit only we have opened here. You can see your business unit only we have opened here. Under the business unit, when you go to the field section, we can see all the details will be there. Starting from the external code. Any questions here? Before going further ahead. No, but one question. In managed data, we have the foundation objects also. Right. Managed data we don't have in the final foundation of the foundation objects, only will be having in managed object structure. Manage object structure. These objects were there in managed object structure, but after that they migrated these objects from foundation objects to managed data. Managed data is only the MDF objects. Only MDF objects in managed object structure. Managed object structure is only for the foundation, FO. Now, whatever the foundation object is left over there in the managed object structure, that is only defined in XML in the corporate data model. Whatever objects which has been migrated, those objects we can create a record from managed data. And whatever object which is there in managed data, we can see those objects where it is defined. It is defined in the portfolio object. I have taken an example for the business unit. Same thing, you can check for legal entity also, department, division, all other MDF objects also. In the coming session we will, because MDF is a very big topic, we will take a couple of sessions. We'll also go and see how we will be seeing right now with standard MDF objects but custom MDF object also, how we can able to go and create it. That also I will show you. This is about the basic overview, how you can see the fields here. That is external code name description. Everything is defined under the field. The same thing will be showing under the managed data, under the business unit. You can see here. Got it. Any questions here? Now further going ahead. Whenever we open a what you call object definition and open an object here, you can see certain fields are there, right? Code effective rating API visibility. Everything will be there. What it is all about this? Let's go and discuss each and everything that we will have a clarity on this also. Let's start with the code. Code is always a standard one, that is a unique one. When a code is being created or defined, and if you are going and creating a new code, those code will not be should not be the same which is already created in the system. Otherwise, while saving, it will give an error that this code already exists. Name, you can label, you can give anything, but the code should be the unique one. It should not be the same which is already there in the system. This is the standard one which is by default. It is coming from SAP, but when you are going and creating a custom one now, when we are discussing all these fields, it will help us to understand what all things. We need to go and take it while creating a custom MDF object. Code is the unique one. Now coming into the effective dating. When you come into the effective dating is what? Effective dating is a feature which will help us to create multiple records. You can create multiple records for a given particular code, for a given particular date. That is the purpose of going and doing for effective dating. Effective dating helps us to manage and something like a track the data for an effective date. It can be a past date, it can be a current date, it can be a future date. Effective dating is divided into these are the area from parent, none, basic and multiple changes per day. When you go into effective dating as none when I'm going, effective dating as none if I'm selecting. We understood what is an effective dating. It is effective. Dating is nothing which allows us to create multiple records for a given particular code for a given particular date. The date can be the future date, past date, or the current date. Now, when you go and select a particular effective dating, suppose we are going and selecting none. How it is behave? The object. If you are selecting as none, it indicates that the object is a non-effective data. We have seen an effective data and non-effective data. Non-effective, dated is something where we cannot able to maintain the history. It will only give you the current date in the system, which is relevant. And it will not change time to time. Something. We can take an example of an object, something as an emergency contact number or a date of birth. Well, it will not change time to time. It will be something as a static one. In that case, we will be going and selecting as none. Is it clear? Understood the concept of none when we need to take. If you are going with basic, what is the behavior of basic if you are taking as effective dating as a basic? Here, if you select as a basic, it gives the opportunity to change the record only once per day. Choosing this option, and you choose this option, the record for the past date, current date or the future date, we can able to change once in one set of time. Something we can take. If you are taking the object, something where salary information of an employee, if that is a scenario, then we will go in and selecting as a basic. When you see all the standard objects, the effective rating, always it will be kept as a basic one. Either when you go with any of the objects in the system, that's the standard MDF objects. Now going into firm parent. Firm parent is something where we can call that. It is something like a composite association. I need to explain to you what is a composite association. To understand firm parent, you need to see how I can able to explain to you. If you are selecting the effective dating as a firm parent, it indicates that when you will go and select a firm parent for that, assuming that you have created two objects. Two MD5 objects. One is a parent object, one is a child object. Always the child object will be connected to the parent object. When you are associating the child object to the parent object, at the time you have to. In the child object, you have to select the effective dating as firm parent because you are linking that child object to the parent object. Suppose in case if business unit is an MD5 object and we have another parent object. How this business unit object will be linked to that another object, considering that this business unit is a child object and you are linking it to the parent object, Then in that case, from this object as effective dating, we need to take as a firm parent. What is the benefit of taking the firm parent is that when I duplicate the screen, when I go to an employee profile, let me go to an employee profile and show you. When we have two objects, how these objects are connected to each other. I am going into an employee profile. And after going into an employee profile, when I go to the contact information, I can go to the contact information. Or I can go to the address information. When I go to the address information and when I click on the address here, let me take some date here. When I'm going and selecting a date, you can see some record is already created. These fields which you are seeing, this is the standard field, and these fields are associated with which object? This is the object, right? This is the object. We can see two objects are there. What is the another object? You can see at address is another object. One object is address, another object is at address. This address will act as a parent object and at address will act as a child object. When the at address is being configured, then under the add address, effective dating will be chosen as from parent because we want to link this object to this parent object. When we are linking the child object to the parent object, the child object will be created as a button here. When we click on this button, you can see another record. Option will be there where we can able to go and create another record. If we have a scenario where we can able to go and create multiple records, in that case we need to have two objects. One object will act as a child object and the other object will act as a parent object. And in that case, we will select under the child object as effective dating as from parent. Understood the concept here? When we need to go and take the parent object, but in address example you gave all of them. All of them are like they would have different dates. I mean dates. All of them are creating like different types, right? Then they're necessarily not related to other. Sorry, I'm not getting your point. In address, this address, you have home address. Again, you can create office address and other some 3 types of addresses you can create, but none would be related to anything, right? I mean, we no need to relate them. None will be related to. Any of them will not be related to anything, right? I mean, like not necessarily they need to be related home address, not need to be related to office address. It is not necessary that it should be related to each other. The fields will be the same. Whenever you want to go and create, suppose you have an address here where this address was the old address and now you've been shifted to the new address. For a legal purpose, also in the system you will always have a historical record, right? If any issue happens with the employee and employee is unable to reach on the current address, the employee should have the old address also in place. Yes, I'm giving an example, but don't try to replicate on a practical way. If you want to replicate on a practical way, I can also give you another example. But here the field is not showing. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.